You're listening to Design Between the Lines, the only design and home furnishings podcast where we talk with the movers and shakers, industry innovators, and lifetime legends of the home furnishings industry. It's here that I get a chance to sit and chat with the influencers shaping the industry into what it is today, and to learn a little bit more about life in their world. Leonard Eisen has been awarded virtually every industry design honor during his lengthy career. One of the most coveted came from the Hecht Company, a well-known Washington, D.C. based department store, which saluted him as the Designer of the Year, which he received for his Apothecary collection. Apothecary followed on the heels of the now legendary Keepsakes collection, influenced by the Eastlake School of Design from over a century ago. I'm honored to speak with my good friend Leonard today. I believe you were you were fired from the family business.
I was summarily dismissed for lack of creativity and insubordination.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah. I was a designer from the get-go because I could draw. And when I went to work for the family, I did a lot of it. But my uncle was also the guy I learned how to draw from. And if you gave him a design, he'd take it. It could have been the most perfect thing you ever saw, and he'd start making changes.
Well, tell me, was that really what kind of that departure started heading you towards Pulaski? Or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had 3 children. I had a wife, and my uncle fired me. So now I had to go out and make a living. So for the first couple years, I had no visible means of support. But then I found one guy who would take some designs from me, a company in New England. Mm-hmm. And then I met Pulaski, and over a period of time, I just expanded my services to Pulaski by trying to be indispensable, you know.
Let's talk about Syracuse for just a second. You went to Syracuse University. 5
years. I studied industrial design.
Industrial design. Now, was that before the military, or
before I went into the service?
So
when I graduated, I graduated after 5 years, a 5-year course. I was commissioned to second lieutenant in the Air Force.
And you're an industrial design major, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're in school and you're developing, I had a terrific professor. We had terrific professors. His idea was he didn't really care what you wanted to design. He just wanted to make sure that you use some creativity to do it. He knew everything about everything. If you could ask him a question about all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And it saved me one time, after I got in the Air Force, they wanted to send me to become a pilot. And I said, listen, look, I don't want to be a pilot. You say, I got a friend of mine who's at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I want to go there. And the colonel said, well, I don't think we can get you there. Go talk to the Airman Second Class out in the front, and he'll reassign you, because I washed out of becoming a pilot. I get to see this Airman Second Class, which is like a corporal. I had met the major who was in charge, but this Airman Second Class was taking graduates from Princeton.
Oh my gosh.
So I meet this Airman Second Class, and he said, Lieutenant, what do you study at Syracuse? I said, I studied industrial design. Oh, you're one of those guys who made all the curlicues?
Oh, good.
Now, wait a minute. He said, I read a very interesting book, Lieutenant, Cybernetics. I had finished the book 2 weeks before.
Wow. That's timing.
I mean, what, 2 weeks before? I said, yeah, I just finished reading that. But so the next half hour, an hour, we were talking about cybernetics and doing this and that. Finally, at the end, he said, Lieutenant, where do you want to go? Get into my wallet, get out the piece of paper. I said, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Aeromedical Lab, Department so-and-so, room number 47. Here it is.
Here it is. Wow.
2 weeks later, I was there.
So you went through your Air Force time, which was how long was your service time?
3 years.
All right. So at the end of that, did I not hear something about designing long-term aerospace compartments?
Yeah. Yes.
Did that intrigue you? Did you were just ordered to do that?
Well, I studied industrial design, but they didn't in the service. They didn't call me an industrial designer. They called me a human engineer.
Okay.
So we were there to design. Let's say the Air Force came out with a new piece of equipment that they want to install, a new chair, a new seat, or a new something or other, and it was up to the human engineers to work it out so that it was easy to use. Yeah, I was one of those guys.
Wow.
And so I was stationed there for 3 years in Dayton, Ohio, practicing my profession, but not as a furniture designer.
So let me ask you, what was the coolest thing you ever did in that developing the human engineering side of compartments for aerospace?
Well, at one time, the department I was in the office I was in, the man who ran it had a project that it's all tied into how people exist working for the government. You see, he wrote up something that said, look, we're going to have planes that are going to be able to stay in the air for weeks at a time or 10 days at a time. We have to make sure that they're comfortable in the plane.
Okay.
So we would design the crew compartment for that to happen, and we had a whole thing. We developed a whole thing that it started before I got there, and so that when this B-52 was circling the globe, just in case the Russians were going to let off a rocket, they would be up there for 2 weeks. As it turned out, they really were not up there for 2 weeks. They might have been up there for 24 hours.
And refueling, I guess, and flight.
And so we had to supply them with all the seats. We had to make sure that when they were reading their things, their whatever.
The readouts.
The crew compartment and everything. That this was all designed for ease of use.
I wanted to hear more about Leonard's work in the design world, starting with his phenomenal and most famous collection, Keepsakes.
Pulaski had made, in their accent division, they'd made a hall tree. Now, a hall tree was a distinctive Victorian piece of furniture that was placed in the home as you entered the house, and people put their hats on there or their coats or something like that. And we had made a hall tree. It took Al Eisenberg and I 3 years to convince Pulaski to make it, starting in 1972, 1973, 1974. And they, at the time, Pulaski was making very ornate, big furniture and out of plastic, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we showed it to the members, to the salesmen, and they said, we're not making anything that's Victorian. Forget it. For 3 years, they said, we're not making anything that's Victorian. Finally, the president of our company, Bernie Wampler, said, look, Leonard and Al want to make this piece of furniture. It's only going to cost $75. So what's the difference? We're making a lot of curios. We were making a lot of curios at the time, thousands. And they said, okay, go ahead. You want to make it? You make it. We'll see. I don't think we're going to sell it. That was the attitude.
Yeah. So
we brought out this hall tree that was placed amongst all these curios. And 12 months later, we had sold 20,000 hall trees.
Wow.
The beginning of Keepsakes, the beginning of the idea, started when I was going to California, I used to go to California twice a year to look for new designs. Mm-hmm. Al Eisenberg, he was always taking me to places that had different things, new designs, blah, blah, blah. So when I got there in May of 1974, he said, look, my daughter wants to buy a headboard, but she doesn't want to buy it from Pulaski. She wants some golden oak headboard.
Wow.
So he said, do you think that there's something there that we could use? And I said, sure, I don't know. Let's go look. We came out here, and he took me to this place, the Merchant of Venice, in Venice, California. And it was a place that was selling golden oak furniture, which they were getting from the Midwest. I went with Al, mm-hmm. and he went in the front and talked to the guy while I photographed stuff in the back. Yeah. And then he went to the back, and I went to the front. And we called the president of the company, which we used to do, because I'd go there for 5 days, and we'd give him a call on Bernie Wampler. We'd call him on Thursday night, and he'd say, Al would get on the phone, and he'd say, Bunny, we got a great idea. I'll let Leonard tell you about it.
Set you up.
Yeah.
Set you up, okay.
So I looked, I took a lot of pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really interesting because he was a style that had been basically banned from the furniture industry from 1929 until these pictures I took basically in 1974.
Oh my gosh.
So 75 was a year later.
Yeah.
And so Bernie Wampler said, Leonard, what'd you find? Now, the way I answered that question was very important, because if I said I found a nice Victorian group, he'd say, stick it. The way I answered the question was, I found the bedroom and dining room to go with the hall tree.
Ah, nicely put, since he already sold 20,000 hall trees.
So 5 days later, I was in his office with 135 sketches. And he said, what should we make? And he said, we should make them all. And he said, you're nuts. I said, you're crazy. I said, that's what you told me about the hall tree. And the rest is history.
I was going to say, how's he going to back off from that one, right? He can't. Oh, my. So
that's how it came to be.
That collection, along with all the other things that you did for that company, you really were their chief designer for many years, were you not?
Yeah, I was the only designer for Pulaski, and I had people work for me.
So did you hire them, or did?
No, I hired the designers. They worked for me.
Do we know a couple of them? Are they out there today? Or?
Oh yeah, one's his name is Jeff Blazing. He works for Pulaski yet, and he came to me for the first time, and he was wearing a tie and a jacket. He that's the way he used to dress up.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So he'd been working for me for a couple of weeks, and I told him we were going to have a design meeting prior to to a market in October. And he said, Leonard, what is the dress code at this meeting? And I said, if you wear a tie and a jacket, you're fired.
Okay. This is good. Well, then I think he got your message, right?
Yeah, he got the message. Well, 6 months later, he had a ponytail. And Jeff is one of the best, fastest, most creative guys on this planet, I'm telling you.
Jeff credits you as being one of the greatest influencers in his life, so I have to say compliments to you. In my day selling on the road, we matched everything against where Pulaski was placed with Keepsakes, because I don't remember a collection that went from the West Coast to the East and sold everywhere and was on everybody's floor. I just don't remember anything like that, and maybe not even anything since. because we're always told there's regionality to design acceptance. I'm not sure that's the case, because whatever happened with Keepsakes and with what you created, it went into everybody's head in the United States, and everybody liked it. There was something to like about that collection for everybody living everywhere in the United States.
Well, you know, before then, Pulaski and plastic
Right.
were synonymous.
Oh, yes. No.
After that, we never made another piece of plastic anyplace until 5 or 8 or 10 years. We made parts, but never again did we go back to making a Bombay chest that was all plastic. Never. We made, and the whole factory that we had built a new factory. And the whole factory was based on taking plastic parts and assembling them. So they had to start all over with wood.
Well, tell me more about Accentrics. Now, is that where the eclectic kind of collection you told me about once came out, or was it before that even?
The Accentrics collection really came to be things that were made in the Philippines and overseas, that were more decorative, things that we couldn't do, like hand-painted pieces of furniture.
So these were items that could stand on their own.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That was one of the things about Keepsakes that was very good. You could buy one piece as an accent piece. You didn't, nothing, no two pieces looked alike. Now you make a dresser bed and chest and everything has to look alike. They were all different. They were all accent pieces. Accentrics was one of the best names for accent furniture I ever heard. In 2002, John came to me and he said, "We're changing." Maybe it was before that. It was about 1999. He said, "We want to stop using the word eccentrics." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because it doesn't say Pulaski." I said, "John, are you? Wait a minute. What sounds better?"
Yeah, exactly. And how are you going to differentiate yourself, right?
At Accentrics, we had some great things that we did. That's just spectacular things.
But at one point, you all were doing everything this company was making. Now, somewhere along the way, you told me that you got them, with a collection that you introduced, you got them into the upholstery and occasional business.
Yeah, we were like 4 companies.
Wow.
We had bedroom, dining room, occasional, and then, which included our Accentrics collection, which included some upholstered chairs and stuff like that. And then we bought a clock company later on.
So you added clocks to
Ridgway Clock Company.
Ridgway.
So it was like working for 4 or 5 companies. And, you'd work on some of this today and some of the other things, and we kept going. And I didn't have to work for another company. We bought the Ridgway Clock Company. And I don't know why they bought it, but they bought it. They were making, they were doing about $18 million a year. And we bought it, and I went with Jeff and with the product development guy, Jim Kelly. We had our first meeting with the manager of the Ridgway Clock division, the guy running the factory. We had our first one, and B.C. Wampler was there, and a couple other guys, sales manager.
This is up in Ridgway, Virginia.
Yeah, it was our first meeting after they took over the company in 1985.
85, okay.
And this guy said that it takes a customer three trips before they decide to buy a clock into the store. I look at Kelly, he looks at me, and and the guy keeps talking. And the more he talked, the more frustrated we were. So we finished the meeting, and Jim and I have our own meeting with Jeff. You know what, guys? A clock. And they would try to make a big mystery. You don't want to make clocks, do you? Why? A clock is a piece of furniture. Yeah. What they do, they buy the mechanism and stick it into the piece of furniture. Okay, you got certain things with the pendulum and shit like that, but there were guys who know how to do that.
Right.
So I said to Jim, Jim, we got to put the glitz in here. We got to have lights. We got to have a mirrored back. And we got to do what we do with curios, do it with the clocks. So we get to the market for the first time, and the salesman who'd been selling clocks, you know, if you go into a store, you have to go 3 times before you sell this clock. I mean, so we go and they come in, and there are these clocks. The lights are on the inside because they're always dark.
Oh,
know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a mirrored back. It's going to ruin the sound. Get out of here. We had these clocks, and the dealers come in, and it's like they're in a museum. And one guy said to me, we had an apothecary collection.
Yes.
That we talked about.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, we're going to take the apothecary look and make a clock. Now, whenever you saw a clock going 30, before we took over,
Mm-hmm.
the bonnet at the top was a certain way, and the base, it would all look, basically had the same elements.
Uh-huh.
They changed them. So we designed this clock. The bonnet is separate. The base is different than the bonnet. And the bottom is different than the other two. And the salesman walked in there and said, that's not the way you do clocks. You got to make everything match. Well, I said, look, it's too late now. You try to see what you could do about selling it.
Right.
So they used to make a big cutting was 175. I don't know how many they had sold, but I thought maybe 10, 15.
Yeah.
So they get them in stock, and in 3 days, every clock was out. Had sold all 175 in 3 days.
Wow. With Keepsakes, Leonard Eisen brought Pulaski from a moderately sized accent company to one of the larger multi-category companies of its time.
In 2002, they reached a volume of $230 million. Which is not bad. And that was under John Wampler's. When his father left, we were doing $100 million.
Right.
But John allowed us to do some things because we were going overseas with Accentrics and all that stuff. So we got to $232 million.
So,
but he did that.
Did you depart from Pulaski at a certain time?
Yeah, I departed from Pulaski in 2005. That's when I told him that I would leave.
And
what
did you decide you were going to do at that point? What did you think?
Well, I ended up where John Wampler. They fired him in 2002 or 2000 something. But he called me up for 4 other companies that he went to. Mm-hmm. I didn't make 10 cents, but now I'm at Lifestyle, and it's taken us a while to start making some money.
I see where recently you had a rollout of a new introduction that you designed in Vegas.
The Lexus Glam.
The Lexus Glam. So Lexus, like the automobile Lexus.
Right? I named it Lexus. We can't use the name.
No, we can't. Right, but that's that look.
It was. They were making Glam. All of a sudden, we had Glam. What is this Glam? So I made Lexus Glam. The interesting things that are made in the furniture industry now are the upholstery, the accent pieces, and the stuff like that, where you don't have to. You can do something, You can do something.
Something other than dog food for the dogs.
Yeah, right.
In your opinion, something to give, and you've given some great pointers here, for young people thinking about design and home furnishings design, frankly, any design in the industry. You talked about being proactive about getting the job done, getting a job quickly, a value to freehand sketching that's unlike anything else to get things done rapidly, but people seeing what's coming out of your head quickly. What other things might you want them to think about if they're thinking about a career like this?
Well, as a furniture designer, and Jeff has the same attitude as I do. We could be walking down the street, mm-hmm. and you look in there and you see something, you say, hey, that's not a bad idea. 24/7. If you're a designer, mm-hmm. you're on 24/7. You're a designer 24 hours a day. You don't know where the designs are going to come from.
Well, let me ask you this question. You know, you've got this experience with long-term people sitting in things, and you graduated from Syracuse, and you were in the
Industrial design.
kind of industrial design. How did that kind of transfer to or develop into this brilliance that you've had over the years in just seeing things and ideas coming to you? I mean, how did that, or have you always had that in your head? You just this kind of just brought it out.
When I was a kid, I was always drawing.
Okay, well that's
And I was always drawing. I inherited the drawing capability from the uncle that fired me. And I've always said that if I would advise a guy who's studying design, I'd say, what you got to do is go to a university and take things that have nothing to do with design, that you learn about another area, even if it's botany, for Christ's sake. And you wanna not be in a narrow little path that
so expand
only
your view.
Yeah.
Expand your point of view.
I mean, you could do things in furniture. You can bring a home to life with the proper designs. I mean,
Leonard, thank you for sharing your life and what you've done in this industry with us today. I'm blown away by what you've done. I think a lot of people were when you did it, and even still, you're contributing to our industry. The time you took today to be with us is going to help a lot of students and a lot of our listeners gain respect for what you did, be educated a little bit, and perhaps even inspired. And that's what I hope will happen. Thank you for coming today.
You know, when you're young and you get into an industry like what we have, there's a lot of things you could do to make yourself felt and to get some recognition. I mean, it's unlimited. So,
thanks again for being with us.
Okay, I loved it.
I want to thank my guest Leonard Eisen for talking with us today. Design Between the Lines is produced by Element Studio with the American Society of Furniture Designers. We're recorded in High Point, North Carolina. To learn more about ASFD, visit asfd.com. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more industry stories of design between the lines.